afternoon, and thank you for joining us today. Welcome to this week's episode of 15 with the Team, a series where the Office of the Student Advocate discusses common topics within the DC education system to help you become better informed and empowered in less than 15 minutes. My name is Natalie Powell, and I'm a student advocate with the Office of the Student Advocate. And today we'll be talking about teacher leadership, not just what happens inside of a classroom, but how teachers work together with families, students, and the broader community to make schools stronger. Today, I'm joined by Barbara. So, Barbara, I'd love if you can introduce yourself, your role at your school, and how long you've been teaching.
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Barbara Schmitz. I'm currently a 12th grade special education case manager and a statistics and financial literacy teacher at EL Haynes. I have quite a few years of classroom experience through practicum, teaching, stuff like that. This is my first full-time position as a teacher.
Very exciting. Thank you. Would love for if you can talk about when your school is trying to get something done or improve on an issue, how do you engage with the wider community to make sure that happens?
Yeah, I think we are encouraged constantly to reach out to our parents and our families to make sure that they are feeling heard. We ask them about when to schedule things or what sort of events we like to have to make sure we're staying culturally relevant and also making sure that all families are included as much as they possibly can be.
I love that. And then who do you usually partner with outside of your classrooms, and what would you say make those partnerships really effective?
Mhm. Well, I would say first leadership outside my classroom. That's really helpful. And then also, I am very involved in my parents. I think something that is important to me as a special education teacher is that they are also part of my IEP team. And so every decision that I'm making is going to be run past them. We're making their students' decisions within a partnership. Of course, once the students are 18, those rights are transferred to them. And then it's if they want their parents involved, they can or they don't have to be. But as far as communication goes, like I very much talk to my parents about what's going well, what's not going well, grades, but also social emotional things. And I think it makes them feel valued as families in our school when we're talking to them about everything that's happening.
I love that. And I think especially at the high school level, that's super important. I think sometimes we really focus on parent relationships when we're thinking about our littles,
Mhm.
but our high school students definitely need that just as much. I would love if you could talk a little bit more about that parent partnership and how that plays into just the importance of the school's overall success.
Yeah, absolutely. I think to have a successful community in a school, I think that everyone involved needs to feel like they are valued and they are heard. And so I think to reach that success, constant communication with the parents is super important. For example, we'll have parent teacher conferences every quarter. And throughout the year, we've actually changed the structure of those just because of what we've gotten through those after we had them surveys like, hey, what did you think about this? Or how did you feel about the format of this? And first we did one on one, then we did by advisory, then we did full, everyone came at the same time. So we definitely listen to our parents, and I think that it makes them feel valued within the community and also feel like their students are well taken care of. Because if we're asking them all of these questions, they know we're also doing it internally. And I would like to say that my students can attest to that as well.
I love that. That really does a lot, I think, to deepen parent trust and just overall buy-in into the program. Um, you talked a little bit about your students and how you give them some independence, especially once they turn 18 and they're able to take over their IP process themselves. Would love if you could talk a little bit more about how you create opportunities for students to share even more of their perspectives and have some independence in the decisions that are influencing them.
Yeah, absolutely. I try to make it part of my teaching practice to pretty consistently ask my students if what I'm doing is helpful, the way I'm teaching something, or when we're having those personal conversations. Because my students are older, I get to be a bit closer with them, and they talk to me about things that are happening at home or just things that could influence the way that they're working within the school. And I pretty consistently make it sort of like a principle of mine to ask them, like, is the way that I'm responding to you helpful? Or is the way that I'm teaching this making you feel like you understand it? Or you feel like you have autonomy in the way that you can learn? Um, I'm a math teacher, so I know sometimes it's not the most exciting thing in the entire world. And so I can ask things like, is it helpful if I'm doing this as a model on the board, or would it be helpful if I gave you notes and you did it yourself? And things like that. And also, we have a really good post-secondary success team. And because I am a special educator, I get to be part of the transition plans for my students. And so we very much use their input to make them successful outside of the school, and get them on track to have these jobs or enter these post-secondary spaces and feel like they're prepared, but they're also doing things that they really enjoy.
I love that. That's amazing. That post-secondary work is huge because as an adult, I'm still trying to figure out what I want to be when I grow up. And so I'm so
Right.
glad that our students have other adults on their team who are, a part of that story and figuring out what that looks like for them.
Mhm.
Thinking about other teachers at your school, how do you bring them on board when you really care deeply about an issue or there's something that you want to kind of create some change around?
Mhm. Thankfully, I have a wildly supportive team. We use a co-teaching model, and I have a wonderful co-teacher, a very experienced, awesome woman. And so I think having that really supportive community where we show, even with parents and students, that we're asking questions all the time for input, it has been really easy to give my input on things. And my team just listens really well. I think having a sort of database, data driven approach to things is really helpful when you're trying to pass new curriculum or you're trying to give new ideas or propose things. So I think having a little bit to back it up, but also having a team that does feel like this really supportive community. I feel like you don't even need that data sometimes to be like, hey, I think this might actually work a little bit better, and have them be responsive, or at least question more, like, okay, why? You know?
Yeah, a responsive team makes the world of difference.
Mm-hmm.
And that really sounds like it kind of ups the buy-in for everyone. Um, how do you think that helps in terms of combating the feeling of being stretched thin or burnt out?
Yeah, I mean, I think knowing that I am heard in my environment is really helpful because when I ask for those breaks, I know that I am going to get them. We are really big on advocating for like personal time, and I personally feel that way too. I think it's really important to give teachers, students, parents time to rest and relax. And so I think just having that really supportive community is really helpful. Also with the co-teaching model, it's really helpful because then if I need a second for a break, I can look at her and I know that she'll take that on. And I think I can speak for most of the people at my school where that's kind of just how it works.
Yeah, just part of your overall school culture. That makes a world of difference. That's awesome. What advice would you want to give to any teachers who are looking to create change beyond their own classrooms?
Mm. I would say being staying confident, but also being very honest with yourself and the people around you. I think honesty and vulnerability are very important. Being a real human is helpful, and I think that's a really great approach with students and with families is to really meet them at like this isn't me saying anything other than like I'm also a person and I want to know about you and I want to create this change. And I think that helps people be more responsive when you're coming at them of an approach of being genuine.
That's beautiful. I think that's such a perfect way for us to wrap up today of just how are we genuine and we're being real humans when we approach this work and we approach how we want to invoke some change in our community. So thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
We truly can build strong schools with our teachers working together, and the work that you're doing at Haynes is a true testament to that.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We are encouraged